Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Raw Radiant Health, and I'm Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. I was thinking I'd like to talk a little bit about how I went 100% raw. This is a question that comes up quite a bit. People are always asking me if I transitioned, if I went overnight, what was it like, is it difficult now to maintain? All sorts of questions come up with this, and so I'd like to share my story. But I'd also like to just mention that it's really an individual thing. Everyone is different. I coach a lot of people with their diet, and some people are just trying to either go 100% raw, or others are just trying to make healthy choices and really get a little bit more education and know what's good and what's not, and a little bit of encouragement as well to keep going. And one thing I've noticed is that everyone's different. Everyone's bodies are different, and everyone's relationship to food is different, and people's lifestyles are different. There's all sorts of things that are part of the equation. It's not one set rule. So for myself, I actually went 100% raw overnight. I'm a little bit of an extremist in some ways, that it's a little all or nothing. And at the same time, when I went raw, I wasn't expecting to go very long. It was only like a 2-week experiment. And I thought, just try it out, see what it's like. And if it works, great. If not, doesn't matter, because I'm going back to eating cooked food. But what went from 2-week experiment actually has been a little bit over a year now, which is quite amazing. I'd have to say, if I'm doing this for this long, there has to be a good reason for it. So why did I go raw in the first place? Well, I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit and just first give you a little bit of a background of like what I was eating before. I've been vegetarian actually for over 20 years. I went vegetarian when I think I was about 12 or 13, and I'm 33 now. And growing up, actually, my parents were very strict about us eating healthy foods. So we did have a lot of fresh fruit and a lot of vegetables, a lot of salad every day. I mean, it was, we weren't allowed to have soda or like cookies or anything. I love that stuff, and I would sneak over to my neighbor's place to have it, but it wasn't in the household. As I was a teenager and left home, I did start eating more and more junk food. And in my 20s, I became like hooked on sugar and caffeine. I was I was just like a sugar addict. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. And after years and years of eating so much wheat, I developed a wheat allergy. And in my mid-20s, I was having serious problems with my intestines, and I had irritable bowel syndrome and all sorts of terrible stuff. And it turned out too that I had a gluten allergy. So by my mid-late 20s, I'd stopped eating any wheat products and any gluten products, and grains itself just never agreed with me. So already I was making my transition without even knowing it, and for years I've been juicing. Gotta have vegetable juices. And so I knew about raw foods. I'd seen a few books about it in different bookstores, but whenever I looked at raw food recipe books, they always, like, the ingredients were always like a long list of 10 ingredients. Things had to be dehydrated, everything that I was always I always just thought if you eat raw, you need to have a dehydrator and you need to have all these complex recipes, which, as a young person is like the last thing I wanted to do. And then what ended up happening was last year I was in New York City for work, and I was at a bookstore, and I was just looking through things, and I saw a book on raw foods, and the recipes were really, really simple, and they weren't asking for a dehydrator or any kind of crazy equipment. And so I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. And so I picked up the book, and then when I got back to Montreal, my hometown, I went to see a naturopath, and I still hadn't read the book. I just had bought it, and you know, it's just been a few days I had bought the book, and I went to see a naturopath, and I'd been dealing with just bad depression for so long, and it was something that is usually seasonal with the Canadian winters, but at this point it was spring, and I was still depressed. And it was just, you know, it's like I just didn't know what to do about it. And so I'd been treated by a naturopath, and when I went to see her this time, she had said to me, listen, Natasha, I want you to try one thing. I want you to eat 100% raw for the next 2 weeks, and then call me. This is, you know, wow. I just picked up a book about raw foods just like literally like 2 days, 3 days before. And so I thought, you know what, there's something going on. The universe is trying to tell me something. So I tried it out. And the crazy thing was that like within a few days, I started feeling much better. But along with just the depression stuff, other things I was starting to feel better with as well. I'd always suffered from bad acne. I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. And one of the effects of it is adult acne. My skin started clearing up like quickly, and also I had problems with my gums. Like I was supposed to actually go and get my 4 areas of my mouth I was supposed to have grafted, like the gums grafted because my gums were receding. After 2-3 weeks of going raw, I went to see the dentist. And, you know, he looked at everything, and he was just like, okay, I'll see you in 6 months for your next cleaning. And I was like, but wait a minute, I'm supposed to get my gums grafted. Like, you know, how are my gums doing? They're receding. And he's like, no, they're perfectly fine. And as you know, with any dentist, like an opportunity to do something, they're going to do it. And I had been seeing two dentists about it. And suddenly, like, my gums had gone back to normal, which is amazing. So right there, I was, like, seeing a lot of, like things that I just accepted as normal were suddenly changing. And also, like, the biggie was that my depression was getting better. So that's my raw food story and how I got into it. It's all good. I'm really, really happy that this is something that I found, and now I just want to spread the word. I want people to know that they can feel good, and that there are healthy options, and healthy options that taste good and that they can enjoy, and that you're never deprived on this. Never, ever, ever. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to see you tomorrow. So have a fabulous, fabulous day, and thank you again for joining me. Bye!